To use the measuring tool in order to find lengths to work with area, volume, and those kinds of things, we're going to use the tape measure tool. So when you use your tape measure tool, in order to find measurements so that you can work with area and circumference and volume and those kinds of things, we need to be able to measure our figure. So we're going to work with the tape measure tool. If you click on the tape measure tool, it works a whole lot like your line tool. When you bring it down to your figure, it will let you know midpoints, endpoints, and different points on your figure as you move it around. Usually endpoints, midpoints, and centers are the main areas or points that it will show you. So if I wanted to find, for example, the diameter of this circle, I can go to the where it says midpoint, click, and then move my mouse. We want it to go through the center to the other side. And you have these little guides that help you. So this is approximately 3.71 meters, and you can see the meters beside our tool, or you can come down here to the bottom, which will also show you the length of whatever you're working with. There was our 3.7. Okay, so that's our diameter. So we could find a radius, we could work with the diameter. You could find the diameter by going to the center, 1.8, or the radius by going to the center, 1.85. And typically with circle, all you need is either radius or diameter. So let's look at another figure. So here we have a cylinder, and in order to find the height of the cylinder, we already know how to find the measurements for the circle in order to find the area of the base. In order to find the height of the circle, it's helpful to turn this around so that it's flat. So you can use your orbit tool to do that. And then you can use your tool for measuring and just come to the side where it says endpoint, click, then move your mouse down until you hit endpoint again. And there's your measurement. 2.83 meters would be the height. It can be helpful, again, to orbit around when you're trying to measure or draw lines. So I'm going to orbit to look at this from more of the top as I measure it. And obviously this one will be pretty easy because we need base and height in order to find the area. There's our height, and then here's our base. And we'll need, if we're working with volume, we'll need that height like we did with the cylinder, so we can orbit this around and use our tool to find the height here. Probably the hardest figure to work with is going to be a triangle. So let me remind you to use the polygon tool. This is the polygon tool. You click on it, leave your cursor there, then hit 3 on your keyboard and enter if you want it to be a triangle. Now I'm going to make my triangle. And remember that the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So to measure that, I'm going to use my tool, and I want to draw a base and a height. And we want to keep in mind that the base and height are perpendicular, and the height is the perpendicular distance from a vertex to the opposite side. So we want that to be perpendicular. See how these are not perpendicular, but that X is right where it's perpendicular. So that's the height, which makes the side we're going to work with, this side where the X is, that's going to be our base. So I'm going to click here on the endpoint and then go over to the other endpoint, and that gives me the base of my triangle. One of the other hard figures to work with is going to be your pyramid. So with your prism, we would then just find the height and multiply it times that base. But with the prism, with the pyramid, it's a little bit harder to create, and you have to do 1/3 times that area you just found times the height of the entire figure. So let me just review how to create a pyramid. You click on the endpoint of your triangle and then go to the center point. Click on that center point and then go to another endpoint. Click there and then come up to this last endpoint and go to the center point and click there. So this is still a two-dimensional figure. We're going to use our move tool which is right up here at the top, and then we're going to come down here to that center. We're going to pull it straight up, but to help me pull it straight up, I'm going to orbit around. I'm going to orbit around so that I can get a sense of what is going straight up. So that helps me to visualize. I want to be parallel to the blue line, so I'm going to click on that move tool. As I mentioned, grab the center point and come straight up, and there's that blue line that's helping me to stay parallel. That blue dotted line helps me to stay parallel to the blue axis. It even says on blue axis, and that helps me to make sure that I moved straight up so that I have a nice pyramid. Okay, now with the pyramid, the bottom's going to be empty, so you want to move it upside down like this and take your pencil tool, click on one endpoint and then move to another endpoint and click. As soon as you do, it closes the third side for you, and then you can come back around. Okay, so you can use this bottom if you want to find the area of the base. And remember, it's the area of the base times 1/3 times the height. Now, one cool way to find the height would be to delete this front piece, because remember, the height actually goes from the vertex at the top down to the center of the bottom. So I'm going to click on my measure tool, go from the vertex, which is the end point here, click there, and then I want to move this down until it hits the very center of my triangle at the bottom. And so my height is 4.91. Okay, so I now have my height. I have the area of the base using the technique I showed before. And then remember also 1/3, because this is a triangular pyramid. So again, you will see your measurements as you're working, but the measurements are also down here in your measurement toolbar.